Words today?
Hey, for the work today, man. You know, 3 in the building, 3 show up, it's over with. Hey, man, what going on, man? Big 9, checking it out.
Any words today?
Can't see me in binoculars. Running a check up, I'm proud of you. Running a racks up, I'm proud of you. All the easy food. Took the hot box on that detour.
Deion Sanders has an issue with the way money earned under the NCAA's new name, image, and likeness rules is causing some athletes to act. Deion Sanders stated, NCAA, you have a problems. Deion Sanders says the NIL money is causing behavior issues among players.
NCAA, you got a little problem. Let me explain. See, with the NILs, which really ain't NIL because there ain't no name, image, and likeness, it's just pay-per-view right now. That's what they doing to the big boys. Little boys, we can't compete with that. But anyway, you got a problem. See, when you start paying athletes like they're professionals, you get athletes acting like they're professionals. And you don't have staffs large enough and equipped enough to handle a young man with money. Let me go deeper. Handle a young man that's making more money than some of the coaches on staff. You got a real problem. So I suggest to you to allow college teams to hire more qualified men, qualified, that could handle these young men that's getting this money.
The Jackson State football coach tagged the NCAA in this Twitter post Wednesday with this 1-minute video explaining his position on the subject. Again, he reiterated, when you start paying athletes like they're professionals, you get athletes acting like they're professionals. And if you don't have large staffs well enough equipped to handle these young men with all of that money, then there are problems. Sanders said he brought attention to the issue because he's trying to help before the problem gets worse. He says, I'm trying to help before it blows up in your face. Money makes you more of who you really are. Now think about that for a minute, wrote Sanders further on his same Twitter post. And there you have it right there. Deion Sanders with some scathing remarks for the NCAA in response to the name, image, and likeness, otherwise known amongst most as the NIL deal, which allows NCAA athletes to receive compensation for their name, image, and likeness. Now, directors from the NCAA are promising stricter enforcement by enacting more guidelines moving forward, right? And that's what they've reported to CBS News. And they said that undertaking this will be a challenge, to say the least, and the consequences of NIL are already being explained, as already explained by Coach Deion Sanders. But when we think about these NIL deals, I think this is something that the NCAA should have forecasted in making this particular decision. Essentially, once you allow this to happen, you have to also accept what comes with how these large sums of money affect these college athletes, and you just simply have to deal with it. All right. And again, I know it's a problem that's going to make things much more difficult for coaching staffs like that of Jackson State, where obviously budget comes into the play there, where assistants at a college like Jackson State University are probably not making the same amount of money that assistants, let's say, at some of the power schools like LSU or Alabama are probably making. So understandably, it's going to have an impact on how some of these players act and treat the coaches who are kind of governing over their lives through, for most, this 4-year journey in college. And so Deion Sanders is making a great point. What types of barriers is the NCAA going to put into place? I think what Deion Sanders stated by allowing schools to increase the size of their staff, I think that's a great start right there. I think the NCAA does too much to really hamper schools' abilities to bring on even volunteers to assist in these programs. And I was kind of alarmed at the D1 level to see that NCAA teams aren't allowed to just bring in volunteers. You have to bring in people on the staff that are paid. So I think Deion Sanders is making a great point. You have to have able-bodied men to handle, the minds of some of these young people who, again, it's going to be extremely difficult to relay your messages, not just messages about the sport, but just messages about life. It's going to be hard to relay that message directly to them if they're making exorbitant amounts of money at this early stage in their career, which, again, I have no opposition to these players getting paid. But there is a level of responsibility that college coaches have, especially when these kids are signing these scholarships. Parents are entrusting these coaches to kind of act as secondary parents, because there's so many different things that can affect these collegiate athletes' lives. And these parents expect the coaches to kind of be there to guide their young men and young women in the right direction. As crazy as that sounds. But again, you guys, let me know what you think. Is Deion Sanders right for calling out the NIL deals that these players are allowed to get? I know when I first saw this, I didn't think of what was going to come out of it. I was just really happy to see that athletes could finally start getting paid off their own names, image, and likeness. I've seen so many athletes have to give up their careers, like such as YouTuber Destroying, literally had to give up his football playing career just to pursue a career on YouTube because he wasn't allowed to make money off of his own name, image, and likeness. All right, we wouldn't have, YouTubers like Devontae Friga, who's now is an aspiring basketball YouTuber in the IRL circuit. We wouldn't have those types of people now had it not been for the developments of these NIL deals. So again, we've seen a lot of players such as Masterpiece, Son, a lot of players sign big time deals. Mikey Williams has already signed a massive deal. Imani Bates, and you name it, these players are taking advantage of how much money they can make now. But is this the best thing for the students themselves, the young men themselves? They're getting this money now, but will this money play some role in cutting their careers short? All right, we've already seen Mikey Williams, how it's impacted his life. We've already seen how Imani Bates has struggled his first year in Memphis, now transferring out, looking for another program where he can further his career. But again, I think this is something that programs are just going to have to adapt to and find a way to manage, because I think the NIL deals are here to stay. And I don't like the idea of the NCAA dipping their fingers into it more, trying to make it more restrictive. And when you do things like that and you get all of these NCAA compliances offices involved and you give them more work to do than they already have, it's just going to lead to more and more violations, which put these kids, coaching staff, and parents alike in a precarious situation when it comes to making money for their sons and daughters. But again, you guys, let me know what you think about this. Do you agree with Deion Sanders on this one? Do you disagree? Either way, make sure you hit us up in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on this particular video. But hey, y'all, it's been a great podcast episode. Make sure you guys join us in our live stream tonight. This is going to be one of the topics we discuss because this is going to determine the future of sports. I mean, these NIL decisions has already had major implications and impact on the G League and the NBA, right? It's already had impact on Major League Baseball and the youth that are coming out of the NCAA. So it's affected a number of different sports, and then, again, across the board. So again, it's going to be curious to watch what the NCAA does going forward, if they make this more restrictive or if they go with the decision of getting rid of it altogether. Even though I don't believe that will happen. But again, that's something that's up for debate tonight here on FYF Sports when we do go live. But it's FYF Sports. Been another great podcast episode. We will be back with more sports and news. But until then, it's FYF Sports. And we out.
Riding to the top, started from the floor. How we got up here, you don't need to know. Sniffing on the M, I need one of those. Sniffing on an M like I got a cold. Need to know, nah, you don't need to know. Need to know, nah, you don't need to know. How we got up here, you don't need to know.